Chapter 2. The Anomaly Unfolds. The days following my initial successful experiment were a blur of preparation and anticipation. I knew that to truly understand the anomaly, I needed to conduct a more controlled and comprehensive experimentation, and with the drastically lowered power requirements, it became feasible to transition away from work. This time, it wasn't just about observing the anomaly's response. I intended to interact with it, to probe its nature, and a thought was nagging in the back of my mind. Possibly communicate. My apartment, already a makeshift laboratory, underwent more transformations. I cleared out the living area, making space for the new equipment I had managed to acquire. A mix of standard maintenance tools from the initiative and some more specialized devices borrowed under the guise of routine work. The centerpiece of my setup was the quantum field modulator, a sophisticated piece of machinery capable of fine-tuning the wormhole's properties. Its sleek, cylindrical body stood in stark contrast to the more mundane surroundings of my apartment. Alongside it, I had an array of monitors and interfaces, each dedicated to a specific aspect of the wormhole's behavior. My plan was to create a localized field manipulation, an even lower-powered one than what I had done in the office, a precise alteration in the wormhole's quantum structure that would mimic the conditions under which the anomaly appeared. This required an intricate balancing act, enough to elicit a response from the anomaly, but not so much as to destabilize the wormhole itself. The safety of the experiment weighed heavily on my mind. The potential for unforeseen consequences was a constant companion. I triple-checked every calculation, ran simulations, and prepared contingency plans. The risks were significant, but perhaps so were the potential rewards. This experiment could be a window into a previously unknown aspect of wormhole physics, a breakthrough in our understanding of the universe. As the first day of the home experiment approached, I ran through the setup repeatedly, ensuring that everything was in place. The quantum field modulator was calibrated to the finest degree, the data collection systems were primed, and all safety protocols were reviewed and ready. I notified Lena and a few other trusted colleagues about the upcoming experiment, not fully describing its setup, just that it was taking place, seeking their input on my safety preparations and validations in case anything went awry. Their responses were a mix of concern and cautionary advice, reinforcing the gravity of what I was about to undertake. Properly, this should not have occurred in a personal dwelling but at a laboratory far from others. The night of the experiment, I sat alone in my apartment, surrounded by the hum of machinery and the soft glow of computer screens. The city outside was oblivious to the groundbreaking work happening in a small apartment within its midst. I initiated the experiment, my heart racing with anticipation. The modulator whirred to life, its core emitting a faint, pulsating light as it began to interact with the wormhole's quantum field. Data streamed across the monitors, a live feed of the wormhole's response to my manipulations. As the experiment progressed, I watched intently for any sign of the anomaly. This was the moment of truth, the culmination of weeks of preparation and research where I would not need to wait for resources at work but be able to progress at home. Then success. The machinery worked. I was able to begin to make progress in the evenings. 2 months later, I was either about to confirm my theories or send myself back to the drawing board. But deep down, I felt a sense of certainty, a conviction that I was on the brink of something monumental. Not that the low-powered solutions I had found weren't important, but they paled compared to what I hoped to find. The universe was vast and mysterious, and I was confident I was about to peel back one of its many veils. This experiment, conducted in the quiet solitude of my home, had the potential to change everything. And as I watched the data unfold, I knew that I was about to step into a new realm of understanding, one that would redefine our place in the cosmos. Triggering the dormant feature of the wormhole. With the experiment underway and the quantum field modulator humming steadily, I focused intently on the task at hand. The moment had come to initiate the critical phase of the experiment, triggering the feature of the wormhole that I believed was connected to the anomaly I was convinced was a communication. I sat before the control interface, my fingers poised over the console. This was the point of no return. Taking a deep breath to steady my nerves, I initiated the sequence that would gently nudge the wormhole, hopefully into revealing its hidden secrets. The modulator's frequency began to increase, its pulsating light growing more intense. On my monitors, I watched as the representations of the wormhole's quantum field started to shift in response. The patterns were mesmerizing, complex arrays of energy and matter dancing to the tune of my manipulations. As the modulator reached the pre-calculated frequency, a wave of anticipation washed over me. I monitored the wormhole's parameters closely, ready to abort the experiment at the slightest sign of instability. But the wormhole remained stable, its structure bending but not breaking under the strain of the modulator's influence. Then, almost imperceptibly at first, the anomaly began to emerge. The data streams on my screens started to fluctuate in a familiar pattern, echoing the readings I had observed during my initial discovery. It was working. The wormhole was responding in the exact manner I had hypothesized. The anomaly's signal grew stronger, more defined. It was as though a sleeping giant was slowly awakening, stirring from the depths of the wormhole's quantum fabric. The readings were unlike anything I had seen before, a complex sequence of quantum fluctuations that defied conventional understanding. My heart raced as I watched the anomaly unfold. This was uncharted territory, a scientific discovery of potentially monumental significance. The wormhole was exhibiting behavior that hinted at secrets lurking in the fabric of space-time itself. As the experiment reached its peak, the anomaly stabilized into a clear, coherent pattern. It was as if the wormhole had unlocked a hidden aspect of its nature, revealing a new layer of its quantum structure. The data was clear and undeniable. I had successfully triggered a dormant feature of the wormhole, and in doing so, had uncovered a phenomenon that could rewrite our understanding. I sat back in awe, my mind racing with the implications of what I had just witnessed. This was more than a successful experiment. It was a doorway to new realms of physics, a glimpse into the profound mysteries of the universe. But even as I reveled in the success of the experiment, I knew that this was only the beginning. The anomaly, now active and observable, beckoned me to delve deeper, to explore its nature and origins. And beyond the scientific triumph, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had just made contact with something truly extraordinary, something that transcended our current understanding of the cosmos. The immediate aftermath of the incident. In the immediate aftermath of activating the dormant feature of the wormhole, the air in my apartment was charged with a palpable sense of discovery and the unknown. The anomaly, now stable and observable, presented a wealth of data that was both exhilarating and overwhelming. As I recorded the final readings from the experiment, my mind buzzed with questions and theories. The anomaly's behavior suggested possibilities that went far beyond current scientific understanding. It hinted at hidden dimensions of wormhole physics, perhaps even new forms of energy or matter. In the stillness of the early morning, with the first light of dawn filtering through the blinds, I felt a profound sense of accomplishment mixed with a growing realization of the responsibility I now bore. This wasn't just a personal triumph. It was a discovery that could have far-reaching implications for science and humanity. My initial excitement was soon tempered by the practicalities of what had just transpired. I knew I needed to proceed with caution. The successful activation of the anomaly was a significant event, one that, if discovered, could attract attention from various quarters, from the scientific community to government agencies and potentially even corporate entities with vested interests in wormhole technology. I dreamed of being famous and rich. I carefully instructed my AI assistant in securing all the data from the experiment, encrypting it and storing it in multiple secure locations. I knew the importance of keeping this information safe until I could fully understand its implications and plan my next steps. As I cleaned up the remnants of the experiment, I contemplated my next move. I needed advice and possibly collaboration, but I was also acutely aware of the need for discretion. Whom could I trust with a discovery of this magnitude? When suddenly I was called into the office for an emergency meeting, the Wormhole network had all shut down at the same time. The next day at the Wormhole Initiative headquarters, I went about my duties as usual, my entire team trying to explain what had happened, but my mind was elsewhere, replaying the events of the experiment and pondering over the anomaly's data. Was it possible there was a connection with the network shutdown? My interactions with colleagues were tinged with a sense of distraction, my responses automatic as I mused over the potential scientific breakthroughs the anomaly could lead to. However, my preoccupation did not go unnoticed. A few colleagues remarked on my distracted demeanor, and I realized I needed to be more careful. I pointed to the interrupted sleep as the culprit. Perhaps it was paranoia, but I felt any hint of the experiment or the discovery could lead to questions I wasn't ready to answer. The experiment had changed everything. I was no longer just a maintenance technician at the initiative. I was the custodian of a discovery that could alter our understanding of the universe. The weight of this knowledge was both exhilarating and daunting. As the day drew to a close, I returned home, my mind still racing with thoughts of the anomaly. I knew that I stood on the precipice of a new journey, one that would take me into uncharted scientific territories. The path ahead was uncertain and fraught with risks, but the lure of the unknown was irresistible. The anomaly had opened a door to new possibilities, and I was determined to explore what lay beyond. The journey ahead would require careful planning, collaboration, and a bold spirit of inquiry. Public reaction and media coverage. In the days following the experiment, the repercussions of what I had inadvertently unleashed began to unfold in a manner I hadn't anticipated. The Wormhole network, an intricate web of cosmic gateways closely monitored by various organizations, had not gone unaffected by my experiment. The subtle but significant changes I had induced in my wormhole's behavior had somehow collapsed all the others, which set off a chain reaction, drawing attention far beyond the confines of my apartment. It started with a trickle of reports on specialized scientific forums, followed by a flood of speculation and inquiry within the academic community. The question on everyone's lips were what had provoked the wormholes to have collapsed. With everything I recorded at my home setup, I hoped to unravel the issue, but they only had the other end of the wormhole recorded, so they did not know I had modified anything from the standard setup. Researchers and theorists continued to notice the anomalous readings from the wormhole network, with data that defied conventional understanding. Before long, the story caught the attention of the broader media. News feeds and digital platforms were abuzz with headlines about the mysterious phenomenon in the wormhole network. Unexplained anomaly in wormhole network raises questions among scientists, read one headline. A glitch in the cosmos. Experts baffled by wormhole data, announced another. The public reaction was a mixture of fascination and concern. To the general populace, wormholes were not just scientific marvels but also vital links in interstellar travel and communication. The vast resources of cosmos had been opened to Earth after wormholes meant we no longer needed to have rockets to reach orbit, that people mining in the asteroid belt could be home often enough to not face space sickness. The idea that there was something unknown or uncontrolled within the network sparked a wave of curiosity, and the talking heads thrived on apprehension. Experts and pundits filled the airwaves and digital channels, speculating about the nature of the anomaly. Some proposed it was a natural fluctuation in the wormhole's quantum structure, while others suggested more sensational theories, including alien communication, a breakthrough in unknown physics, or the imminent collapse of civilization. As I watched the story unfold, I felt a growing sense of unease. My experiment, intended as a private foray into unexplored science, had inadvertently triggered a public and scientific maelstrom. I was acutely aware of the potential consequences of my actions becoming known. Not only could it jeopardize my career, but it could also lead to unwarranted exploitation or fear-mongering about the technology that had become integral to human society. In the Wormhole Initiative headquarters, the reaction was more measured but no less concerned. There were closed-door meetings and an increased buzz among the staff. I overheard snippets of conversations about data reviews and system checks. The organization was under pressure to provide answers and assurances to both the public and the scientific community. I hadn't planned to need to obfuscate who was accessing the wormhole network. It was only a matter of time before they noticed that the same wormhole I did my initial experiments on was the first to go down. Amidst this whirlwind of attention and speculation, I felt an increasing sense of isolation. I couldn't come forward with what I knew without exposing myself. Then I would have to admit I did not fully understand what's happened. Yet, watching the spread of misinformation and wild theories, I felt a responsibility to the truth of my discovery. The media coverage continued to grow, with each report and expert analysis further distorting the reality of the anomaly. I realized that the narrative was slipping away from the realm of scientific inquiry into the domain of sensationalism and fear. This public reaction and media frenzy underscored the delicate nature of scientific discovery and its impact on society. It was a stark reminder that the pursuit of knowledge was not just an academic endeavor but one that resonated with the hopes and fears of humanity. As I grappled with the implications of the situation, I knew that my journey with the anomaly was far from over. It had become more than a scientific pursuit. It was now a matter of navigating the complex interplay between discovery, responsibility, and the public perception of science. Government interest and investigation. Introduction of Katy Lozano. As the media storm intensified, it wasn't long before governmental agencies took notice. The Wormhole network, integral to interstellar travel and communications, was under their purview, and any anomaly, especially one that sparked such public interest, warranted investigation. One crisp morning, just a few days after the media had picked up the story, I was approached at the Wormhole Initiative headquarters by a delegation from the Interstellar Science and Security Bureau, ISSB. They were a group tasked with overseeing the safety and scientific integrity of space-related technologies. At the forefront of this delegation was Katy Lozano, a name I recognized but had never personally encountered. Katy, with her sharp features and an air of confident authority, introduced herself as the lead investigator for the ISSB on this case. Her reputation as a brilliant astrophysicist and a shrewd diplomat preceded her. In her mid-30s, she had been instrumental in negotiating several key treaties regarding the use and exploration of wormholes. She was born on Mars, one of the first places humanity settled after wormholes were discovered. As we sat in one of the facility's lecture rooms, the atmosphere was tense with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. We were the third group of the day Katy was speaking to, and she began by explaining the government's concern regarding the anomaly. Her demeanor was professional, yet there was an undercurrent of genuine intrigue in her voice. The anomaly in the Wormhole network has raised significant attention, both in scientific circles and among the public, she began, her eyes scanning the room, taking measure of her audience. Our primary concern is to understand the nature of this anomaly and ensure the continued safety and reliability of the Wormhole network. Late that afternoon, I was pulled into a conference room for a meeting with Katy, who said, "It appears you were the last person working with this wormhole." Katy's approach was methodical, her questions precise. She inquired about recent activities at the facility, any unusual readings or incidents, and the steps being taken to investigate the anomaly. Her line of questioning was thorough but not accusatory, more inquisitive than confrontational. I found myself caught in a dilemma. While part of me wanted to reveal everything about my experiment and the findings, another part warned of the consequences. I chose to remain cautious, providing information only about the general operations and the routine checks we had been conducting since the anomaly's discovery. Redirecting every probe into what I was doing at work with explanations of my job and responsibilities. Katy listened attentively, her expression betraying nothing of her thoughts. It was clear that she was well versed in the science of wormholes, yet there was a sense of her treading carefully around the unknown variables of the situation. As the meeting progressed, it became evident that Katy was not just here on a routine investigation. Her questions, while framed within the context of the anomaly, hinted at a deeper understanding of the potential implications of the discovery. It was as if she was looking for pieces of a larger puzzle, trying to fit this anomaly into a broader context of interstellar science and politics. The meeting concluded with Katy assuring me of the ISSB's support in the ongoing investigation and their commitment to transparency and cooperation. As the meeting closed left, I couldn't help but admire Katy, a figure who seemed to straddle the worlds of science and diplomacy with equal ease. In the days that followed, Katy's presence at the initiative became constant. She interacted with various teams, her investigations taking her from the depths of the technical bays to the high-level administrative offices. There was a determination about her that I found intriguing and, in a way, reassuring. It was clear that she was driven by a pursuit of truth and understanding, qualities that resonated with my own motivations. Government interest and investigation. Introduction of Hale. As the ISSB's investigation into the wormhole anomaly gained momentum, another dimension was added to the unfolding scenario. I was introduced to Hale, a contractor representing a competing arm of the government, the Interstellar Defense and Exploration Agency, IDEA. Pearl's involvement signaled the increasing complexity and significance of the situation. Hale was a contrast to Katy Lozano in both demeanor and background. A former military strategist turned private contractor, she possessed a commanding presence, marked by an air of assertiveness and decisiveness. Her arrival at the Wormhole Initiative headquarters was more discreet than Katy's. Accompanied by a small team of specialists, Pearl made it clear that IDEA was taking a keen interest in the anomaly but didn't hold lecture hall meetings. She was also in her mid-30s and had grown up on space stations and had the particular way of speaking that came with that background. Our first encounter took place shortly after one of Katy's investigative sessions. Pearl requested a meeting with the facility's key personnel, and I was asked to attend due to my involvement in maintenance and operations. The meeting was held in the same conference room where I had met with Katy, but the atmosphere was markedly different. Pearl's approach was more direct, her questions carrying an undercurrent of urgency and concern about the potential security implications of the anomaly. "Good morning," Pearl began, her voice carrying a tone of no-nonsense professionalism. "I'm here on behalf of IDEA. Our focus is on understanding the potential risks and strategic implications of this wormhole anomaly. We need to assess whether this poses a threat to our interstellar infrastructure or, conversely, presents new opportunities for exploration and defense." Her team, a mix of scientists and military strategists, set up various devices and displays, turning the conference room into a temporary operations center. Pearl's focus was on gathering data, not just on the anomaly itself, but on any irregular activities or readings that might suggest a broader pattern or cause. She was looking into the background of every Wormhole Institute employee and wasn't being subtle about it. As I provided the requested information, I couldn't help but notice the subtle yet distinct difference in Pearl's line of inquiry compared to Katy's. Where Katy was methodical and open-ended, Pearl was tactical and focused, her questions aimed at uncovering potential vulnerabilities or strategic advantages. Pearl's presence and her line of questioning hinted at the broader implications of my discovery. The wormhole anomaly was no longer just a scientific curiosity, it was now a matter of national, even interstellar, security and potential advancement. After the meeting, Pearl lingered to speak with some of the senior staff. I observed her from a distance, noting her ability to command attention and respect. She was a figure who seemed to be constantly assessing, strategizing, her mind always several steps ahead. In the days following Pearl's arrival, the dynamic at the Wormhole Initiative headquarters shifted. There was a sense of heightened awareness and urgency. Conversations in the corridors were hushed, and the usual routine was interspersed with meetings and briefings involving Pearl and her team. The anomaly had drawn in powerful forces, each with its agenda and perspective. Katy Lozano represented scientific inquiry and governmental oversight, while Hale embodied strategic interests and defense concerns. Their involvement painted a complex picture of the anomaly's significance, and due to their early interest in me, I found myself increasingly caught in the crosshairs of these competing interests. As I navigated this new landscape, I realized that the discovery of the anomaly had propelled me into a world of intrigue and high stakes, far removed from the simplicity of my initial scientific curiosity. The paths of Katy Lozano and Hale had converged at the Wormhole Initiative, and I had a feeling that they would play significant roles in the unfolding events related to the anomaly. Yet I could not bring myself to stop planning my experiments at home. There was no chance that this would go away. Foolishly in my mind, it only would go away if it became an unexplained phenomenon which continued to reoccur on occasion. A mysterious figure's appearance. In the midst of the heightened activity and scrutiny at the Wormhole Initiative headquarters, an unexpected development added a new layer of intrigue to the unfolding situation. It was during a particularly busy afternoon, with the facility abuzz with the ongoing investigations and the presence of government officials, that I first noticed him, a mysterious figure who seemed out of place amidst the usual crowd. He was an unassuming man, middle-aged, with an air of quiet observation. Dressed in nondescript clothing, he neither interacted with the staff nor showed any particular interest in the workings of the facility. Yet, there was something about him that caught my attention. He had a way of blending into the background, almost invisible, but his eyes were sharp, taking in everything with an intensity that belied his casual demeanor. I observed him from a distance at first, curious but cautious. He seemed to be watching the proceedings with a keen interest, his gaze occasionally lingering on me. I wondered if he was another government official or perhaps a consultant brought in by one of the agencies. But there was no indication of his affiliation, no badge or identification, nothing that placed him within the familiar structures of the initiative or the government. His presence became a subtle yet persistent background to my days at the facility. I would catch glimpses of him in the corridors, in the cafeteria, always alone, always watching. He never approached or engaged with anyone, maintaining a discreet distance, yet there was a purposefulness to his presence that piqued my curiosity. One evening, as I was leaving the facility, I found him standing near the exit, seemingly waiting for me. The corridor was quiet, most of the staff having already left for the day. His appearance in such a secluded setting sent a ripple of apprehension through me. "Casey Webb," he said, his voice calm and measured as I approached. "I believe we have much to discuss." I stopped, my initial surprise giving way to wariness. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" I asked, keeping my tone neutral. "You don't, but I've been following your work closely," he replied, his eyes locking onto mine. "I'm aware of your experiment with the wormhole anomaly. You've uncovered something significant, Casey, something that goes beyond government investigations and public speculation." His knowledge of my experiment sent a shockwave of realization through me. How did he know about it? The experiment had been conducted in secrecy, and so far, nobody else had drawn a correlation. "Who are you?" I asked, my wariness turning into a mix of intrigue and concern. "That's not important right now," he answered, a slight smile playing on his lips. "What's important is the anomaly and its potential. You're on the cusp of something groundbreaking, Casey, and there are those who would seek to use your discovery for their own ends." His words struck a chord within me, echoing my own concerns about the anomaly's significance and the various interests it had attracted. "I'm here to offer you guidance, perhaps even protection," he continued. "You're navigating dangerous waters, and you'll need allies." I was skeptical, unsure of his motives and hesitant to trust a stranger who seemed to know so much about me. Yet, there was a sincerity in his tone that made me pause. "Why should I trust you?" I asked, trying to gauge his intentions. "Because, Casey, like you, I'm driven by the pursuit of knowledge and truth," he replied. "And right now, you need someone who understands what you're dealing with, someone who can help you navigate the challenges ahead." With those words, he handed me a small card with a contact number and a name that was unfamiliar but promised answers. He then turned and walked away, disappearing into the evening shadows of the corridor. I was left standing there, the card in my hand, a myriad of questions swirling in my mind. The appearance of this mysterious figure had added yet another dimension to the already complex tapestry of events surrounding the wormhole anomaly. His knowledge of my experiment and his offer of assistance suggested that there were deeper layers to this situation, layers that I had yet to uncover. As I made my way home, the card weighing heavily in my pocket, I knew that the path ahead was fraught with uncertainty and hidden agendas. The anomaly had opened a door to not just scientific discovery, but also to a world of intrigue and shadowy figures, each with their own motives and intentions. Covert meeting with the researcher. The encounter with the mysterious figure left me in a state of heightened alertness and curiosity. His cryptic message and knowledge of my secret experiment had opened a floodgate of questions. After much deliberation, I decided to contact the number on the card, setting in motion a series of events that would further entangle me in the web of intrigue surrounding the wormhole anomaly. We agreed to meet at a discreet location. My hope with all the groups at work was that this would keep us away from the prying eyes of the initiative and government agencies. The rendezvous point was an old cafe in a quieter part of the city, a place where time seemed to have stood still, untouched by the technological advancements that marked most of New Chicago. I arrived early with the weight of uncertainty on my mind. The cafe was a relic of a bygone era, its walls adorned with vintage posters from 50 years ago and its air filled with the aroma of real coffee. A rarity. I chose a secluded table at the back, away from the few patrons scattered around the place. The mysterious figure arrived promptly, his appearance as unassuming as it had been at the facility. He greeted me with a nod, taking a seat across from me. Up close, his demeanor was calm, his eyes keenly observant. "Thank you for meeting me, Casey," he began, his voice low and even. "I understand you have reservations, and rightly so. But I assure you, My intentions are aligned with yours, to understand and protect the discovery you've made. We have mutual friends in the scientific community, friends that talk to me about curious questions you had asked them. I studied him for a moment before responding. Let's cut to the chase. Who are you, and how do you know about my experiment? My name is Dr. Adrian Foster, he replied. I'm a researcher, like you, though my field of work has often veered into less conventional territories. I've been monitoring anomalies in wormhole behavior for some time, and your experiment has opened a door that we didn't even know existed. Dr. Foster continued on with a rambling explanation which did little to ease my wariness, but his knowledge of wormhole physics and the specific nature of my experiment suggested he was indeed deeply involved in this field. Why come to me? I asked. And why all the secrecy? The anomaly you've uncovered is more than a scientific curiosity, Dr. Foster said, leaning forward. It's a discovery that could redefine our understanding of space and time. There are entities that would exploit this for their own gain, disregarding the potential dangers or ethical implications. My goal is to ensure that doesn't happen. His words echoed my own concerns about the anomaly. The realization that others shared my apprehensions and the implications of my discovery was both reassuring and alarming. We need to proceed carefully, Dr. Foster continued. Your experiment has already drawn attention. That is why they flooded the social networks with discussion of what at the end of the day is relatively esoteric trivial for the common person, but we have an opportunity to explore this further, to understand what you've uncovered. I considered his words, the magnitude of the situation becoming increasingly clear. The meeting with Dr. Foster marked a turning point, a step deeper into the unknown. It was a decision that could alter the course of my life and potentially the future of wormhole research. As we discussed plans and strategies, the cafe around us faded into the background. We were two scientists, bound by a shared curiosity and a common purpose, navigating the uncharted waters of a discovery that lay at the very edge of human understanding. The meeting ended with an agreement to collaborate, to combine our knowledge and resources in the pursuit of the truth behind the anomaly. As I left the cafe, the card with Dr. Foster's contact information securely in my pocket, I felt a mix of apprehension and excitement. The path ahead felt risky, but the lure of the unknown was irresistible. The anomaly had drawn me into a world of intrigue and discovery, and there was no turning back. Sharing of secretive information. The clandestine meeting with Dr. Adrian Foster marked the beginning of a covert collaboration, a partnership forged in the pursuit of unraveling the mysteries of the wormhole anomaly. In the subdued ambiance of the old cafe, under the guise of casual conversation, we exchanged information that painted a broader picture of the situation at hand. Dr. Foster began by sharing his own research, which he had been conducting in secrecy for several years. He revealed that there had been other instances of minor anomalies in wormhole behavior, largely overlooked or dismissed by the scientific community. He suspected some type of communication through the network but had never been able to track it down. Once he realized I had managed to activate a wormhole at home rather than in the office, it was relatively little work for him to rediscover the energy savings associated with the fluctuations. However, none of the past fluctuations had been as pronounced or as potentially significant as the one I had triggered. As he spoke, he produced a series of encrypted datapads, each containing detailed observations, theoretical analyses, and simulations of wormhole phenomena. The data was extensive, suggesting that Dr. Foster had been monitoring the wormhole network with a keen and knowledgeable eye. This is just the tip of the iceberg, Dr. Foster explained. There are patterns and consistencies in these anomalies that suggest a larger, underlying phenomenon at play. Your experiment has provided the most direct evidence of this yet. In return, I shared the complete set of data from my experiment, including the specific parameters I had manipulated and the subsequent responses observed in the wormhole's behavior. Dr. Foster absorbed the information with intense concentration, his eyes flickering with recognition and understanding as he connected the dots with his own findings. We're dealing with something that challenges our fundamental understanding of wormhole physics, he mused, his voice tinged with a mixture of excitement and gravity. This could be a breakthrough in our ability to manipulate and navigate space-time, but it also opens up a Pandora's box of potential risks. Even ethical dilemmas. Casey, Our governments have only held this modern stability for a decade. Something this powerful may tip it back into open hostilities. Our exchange continued, delving into more speculative territory. Dr. Foster hypothesized that the anomaly could be indicative of a form of quantum resonance within the wormhole structure, a phenomenon that could have far-reaching implications for interstellar travel and communication. He also shared his concerns about the various interests converging around the anomaly. There are powers at play here, Casey, that see this anomaly as a tool for their own ends, be it political, military, or economic, he cautioned. We must tread carefully. The pursuit of knowledge is noble, but the ramifications of this discovery are vast and complex. I do not know for sure how we can speed this discovery process. I have heard of a hidden archive at the Celestial Nexus space station, but who knows if it exists or if it would have the data we need. The meeting concluded with a mutual understanding of the need for discretion and collaboration. Dr. Foster provided me with secure communication channels and promised to stay in close contact as we both continued our investigations. As I left the cafe, the weight of the shared secrets heavy in my mind, I felt a paradoxical sense of isolation and connection. The secretive nature of our collaboration was a necessary precaution, yet it underscored the significance and sensitivity of what we were dealing with. I had become part of a hidden network of knowledge, a custodian of secrets that held the potential to alter our perception of the universe. The path forward was uncertain, but the pursuit of truth behind the anomaly was a journey I was now irrevocably committed to. Decision to explore further. In the wake of my covert meeting with Dr. Foster, a resolve solidified within me. The sharing of secretive information had not only deepened my understanding of the wormhole anomaly but also heightened my awareness of its potential significance and the perils surrounding it. The decision to explore further was not made lightly. It was born from a confluence of curiosity, responsibility, and a growing sense of duty to tread where others might not. The anomaly, once a personal discovery, had grown into a complex puzzle with far-reaching implications. It was clear that Dr. Foster and I were not the only ones interested in its potential. The heightened activity of government agencies and the shadows of other, less visible entities made it evident that the stakes were high. The anomaly was a scientific frontier, but it also represented a strategic asset that could reshape the balance of power in interstellar politics and technology. In the quiet of my apartment, surrounded by the hum of my equipment and the soft glow of the screens, I weighed my options. To continue this journey meant venturing into uncharted territory, both scientifically and ethically. It meant facing the unknown risks of the anomaly itself and navigating the intricate web of intrigue as evidenced by the teams at work. Yet, the allure of discovery was too potent to ignore. The anomaly represented a gateway to new realms of physics, a chance to expand human knowledge and understanding of the cosmos. It was an opportunity to contribute to a legacy of scientific exploration and to answer questions that had long eluded us. With a renewed sense of purpose, I began to outline a plan for further exploration. This would involve not only more advanced and precise experiments but also a careful strategy to manage the external interests converging around the anomaly. Collaboration with Dr. Foster would be key, leveraging his insights and resources to delve deeper into the anomaly's mysteries while maintaining a veil of secrecy. I also recognized the need for allies within the Wormhole initiative and possibly even among the various government agencies. Navigating the political and bureaucratic landscape would be as crucial as the scientific exploration itself. The anomaly had placed me at the nexus of a complex web, and I needed to tread carefully to avoid becoming entangled in it. As I set my plans in motion, I was acutely aware of the delicate balance I needed to maintain. The pursuit of knowledge had to be tempered with caution. The anomaly was not just a scientific phenomenon. It was a test of our ability to responsibly handle the power and knowledge it offered. Casey's work Dynamics with Frank Bryant, Katy Lozano, and Hale. In the midst of the burgeoning chaos stirred by the wormhole anomaly, the Wormhole Initiative headquarters became a cauldron of activity. Here, Casey Webb began navigating not just the enigmatic wormhole phenomenon but also the intricate dynamics with colleagues, Frank Bryant, Katy Lozano, and Hale. Frank Bryant, the lead AI specialist and a veteran in the field, had always been a friend. Their interactions often revolved around the technical aspects of the wormhole network's maintenance. Yet, With the emergence of the anomaly, their discussions delved into uncharted territories. Frank's philosophical musings on AI and its role in understanding the universe had always intrigued Casey, and now these dialogues took on a new dimension, contemplating the implications of the anomaly on their current understanding of artificial intelligence and quantum mechanics. Katy and Pearl kept pulling the two of them into meetings, both jointly and individually, over the next months. "Casey," Frank remarked during a calibration session without them, "this anomaly could be a gateway to new realms of AI comprehension. Think about it. A quantum event that could potentially expand the AI's learning parameters beyond our current models." Casey appreciated Frank's ability to interlace complex theories with practical applications. Their collaborative work in diagnosing and addressing the oddities in the AI behavior, prompted by the anomaly, became a common occurrence. Frank's blend of experience and visionary thinking provided Casey with a unique perspective on the unfolding situation. Katy Lozano, the government investigator from the ISSB, brought an air of authority and scientific prowess to the mix. Initially, Casey was cautious around Katy, mindful of the government's interest in the discovery. However, as they worked together to analyze the anomaly data, a mutual respect developed between them. Katy's analytical mind and thorough approach to the investigation were both reassuring and inspiring to Casey. During one of their joint sessions, Katy shared her insights. "Casey, your findings here might not just redefine wormhole technology. They could significantly alter our approach to interstellar policy and strategy." Casey attempted to remain serene as this seemed bait thrown out to prove Casey's involvement. Collaborating with Katy allowed Casey to view the anomaly through the lens of governmental and broader scientific implications, adding depth to her understanding of the stakes involved. Pearl Hale, representing IDEA, was a force to be reckoned with. Her military background and strategic mindset presented a stark contrast to Casey's scientific approach. Pearl's focus on the potential security implications and tactical advantages of the anomaly was initially alarming too, but it also opened Casey's eyes to the broader ramifications of the discovery. In a particularly tense meeting, Pearl challenged Casey and Frank's findings, pushing them to consider the defensive and offensive capabilities of the anomaly. "Think bigger, Casey. This isn't just science, it's potential power that can change the balance. Having the ability to shut down the wormhole network is unacceptable. Nobody and no power should have that ability." Working with Pearl was a mental balancing act for Casey. It required aligning scientific curiosity with the pragmatic realities of national security and defense, a perspective that was daunting yet undeniably crucial. Amidst these dynamics, Casey was at the convergence of diverse perspectives, each critical in their own right. Frank's wisdom, Katy's investigative sharpness, and Pearl's strategic acumen collectively broadened and challenged Casey's approach to the anomaly. Together, they represented the multifaceted nature of the data and pushed to find explanations. Navigating these relationships and collaborations, Casey's role evolved beyond that of a maintenance technician. By becoming a central figure in a narrative that was shaping not only the destiny of the analysis but potentially the future of human interaction with the cosmos. The Wormhole Initiative headquarters, with its blend of brilliant minds and conflicting agendas, was the perfect crucible for Casey's transformation from a curious scientist into a pivotal player in the saga of the wormhole anomaly. Slowly a friendship formed. They spent more and more time together away from work. When they had events at their homes over the next months, they invited each other, introduced their friends to each other, and were quickly growing closer. Still, Casey felt the pull to remain separate and keep the secret that about knowing more than everyone else about the source of the wormhole anomaly. Casey subtly steered them towards seeing the power savings as the only potential secret as they navigated engaging teams around them.